Greetings, it's Iain from RTO here. Welcome to another Then and Now, also known as a quick guide to a band's discography and their first and last or current albums. Today we're going to do a bit of Britpop. We're going to be looking at Blur. Now I've got into Blur because of an ex-girlfriend back in the day. She was a big fan of Blur, so I got to listen to a lot of their stuff, and I didn't mind it actually. All I can say is I'm glad she was a Blur fan and not an Oasis. Say no more there. So Blur, formed in 1988, and the band of course is Damon Albarn, Graham Coxon, Alex James the Cheesemaker, and Dave Rowntree on the drums. They incorporated the sounds of Manchester and shoegazing following a stylistic change influenced by English Kinks, Beatles, XTC, and they're still sort of going, and I think they're on a rather large holiday. They were sort of in the battle of the Britpop with Oasis. And you know, personally, I think Blur were a little bit better. They were a little bit more. How would I put this? I mean, I don't like Oasis, but I appreciate what they did to English music. I think these were a little bit more technical. Okay then, so their first album came out in August 1991, and we had Damon Albarn lead vocals, keyboards, Graham Coxon guitars, Alex James on the bass, Dave Rowntree on the drums. Producer was Steve Lovell, and also Stephen Street was in the production seat as well. So the first track on this album is called She's So High. Nice track, like the guitar arrangements on this, and it's got a very 60s feel to it, some of that Kinks sound. Pretty good track. Second track is Bang. Interesting track, but like most Blur songs, they're quite catchy. A catchy tune, and I've got no problem with that. Slow Down, it isn't too bad, I suppose. Very hard to get into that track, but it's listenable. Reputation Street, I love the bongos in this, and then this goes into a real heavy track. Got some nice riffs in this, really solid track. Bad Day, love the guitar work in this, a little bit of accordion. Why not throw an accordion in? It's an interesting track as well. Sing, not a fan of this one. I just find it a little bit dreary, to be honest. There's No Other Way. I like the jazz funk sound on this. Really works. Then we get my favourite track off this album, called Fool. I love this one. It's got that 60s feel to again, and it's quite poppy. Come Together, nothing to do with the Beatles. Nice little rocker this is, excellent track. High Cool, it's got a good lick to it, nice bass line, very English this song. I do like it. Birthday, quite psychedelic. I do like this psychedelic side of Blur. Very Beatles as well, from their psychedelic era. Pretty good. Wear Me Down, another solid track. Nice riffs, great drumming from Dave Rowntree. Very good track. What do I think of this album? I think it's a good album. It's got some really strong songs on it. They hadn't worked out where they were going. Blur. Like most bands, we've had this conversation before. I think a lot of bands, first album, looking experimented, trying to find a niche sound. But this has got a lot of Beatles influence, a little bit of XTC, of course, and the Kinks. But I think it was a good album. So what did everyone else think of it? Well, Leisure received mixed reviews from the British press. David Kavanagh wrote, "The four Blur boys have guaranteed themselves a hefty leg up in being taken seriously, with thrills they have carved into grooves of Leisure." He concluded that Leisure, in short, is one of those happy occasions where the hype is dead right. Paul Davis's Q magazine rated the album as 4 out of 5 stars and felt it fulfilled the earlier promise Blur showcased. This bunch of floppy fringe pop cadet in baggy clothing should consummate their beginnings of pop romance in fine style. Davis also elaborated, for Leisure is a substantially stocked treasure chest of hit singles just waiting to happen. However, Alex Pedris stated that on the evidence of this album, they don't appear to know what they're doing, and as a result making appalling mistakes all over the place. Yeah, well spotted, Alex. Yeah, it's their first album. I've got first albums of some of the greatest bands going, and they're not that a bit empty in places, but that's what it's all about. You know, you make your first album, you can't come out hitting the road straight away. Okay, there are them exceptional albums, we all know that, but for God's sake, man, give the band a break. So how did the fans think of it? Oh, well, it charted and got to number 7 in the UK charts. And it got certified a gold album. Blur, blur, blur. I've got the blurries. I can't speak this morning. Okay then, let's have a look and be a bit more critical. Song quality on this. There's some very good songs, I think. Not polished, but the potential's there, of course. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Production. Well produced. Very well produced album. Sounds really, really good. Stephen Street, Steve Power, very good producers. They got a good sound. Okay, there's a lot of, little bits of flaw in it, but I like the production on it. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Reception. Apart from Alexis Pedris, I think everybody liked it. Charting at number 7 on your debut album, top 10 album, pretty good. Gold disc, pretty good. So I'd say the fans loved it. So for reception, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. So that gives Leisure by Blur a total of 11 out of 15. Not a bad score for your first album. Okay, we haven't done this for a little while, so let's get in that time machine and go on 24 years to 2015 and to the 8th and most current album by Blur called The Magic Whip. We've featured their this album cover in album covers I like. It is a pretty cool cover, as you can see. Now, this was recorded in Hong Kong and London. It was the first album in 12 years since 2003's Think Tank. This made the longest gap between studio albums by Blur, and it's the first one with the original lineup since 1999. And also that Stephen Street came back after his last album of producing was Blur in 1997. So how this album come about after all these years? Well, Blur was set to play at Tokyo Rocks Music Festival. However, it was completely cancelled. So this left the band at a bit of a loose end. So what did they do? They were stranded in Hong Kong for 5 days. So to attempt to distract themselves, they went and worked on new material. And this is what we got. So it's the usual suspects in the band: Damon Albarn, Graham Coxon, Alex James, Dave Rowntree. Stephen Street's back doing the production. So let's have a look at this album. First track is called Lonesome Street. Again, pretty quirky track. Like the lyrics on this, it's what I call proper Blur lyrics. Pretty damn good track. Yeah, New World Towers, very psychedelic again, but a new wave psychedelic. Really good track. Go Out. This reminds me a lot of XTC. I love XTC, so I like that one. Ice Cream Man. I just can't get on with that. They were known for doing obscure and bizarre, and this is just even obscure and bizarre for me. Thought I Was a Spaceman. I love this track. It's something that you'd expect from a Peter Gabriel album, actually. You know, something from So Onwards, that sort of sound that Peter Gabriel did. They've sort of done it as well. It's pretty cool. I Broadcast. It's a nice little rocker. It's a bit different for them, and it's pretty cool. My Terracotta Heart. Interesting arrangement on here. Again, experimental. Bringing in all the things they've done in between. I mean, Damon Albarn had that other band. Can't think of the name. Bit more groovy. He brought some of that into there, and he sort of made it work. It's not a bad track. There Are Too Many of Us. My favourite track on the album. I like the string arrangements in this, and the effects on the vocal are really good. Very, very good. Ghost Ship. It's alright, I suppose. Pyongyang. Sounds a little bit like Elbow. That sort of sound, and I love Elbow, so that's a thumbs up for me. And then we got Ong Ong. Very 60s again. Still going back to their roots, which I love. Fantastic. And Mirrorball. Love the arrangement, but Damon's vocal is a little bit ugh. So what do I think of this? It's a strong album. Again, it retains a lot of the classic sound, because the previous album, which we'll look up in a minute, Think Tank, was a bit odd. But they're still experimenting, and it's a solid album. Okay, what did the critics think? Well, DIY magazine critic Stephen Ackroyd stated, "Their magic remains strong as ever." I agree. Helen Brown of the Telegraph stated the album turns out to be a triumphant comeback. Excellent. It retains the band's core identity, which I agree with, which allowing their ideas that had fermented separately over the past decade to infuse their sound with a mature and new flavour. Andy Gill from The Independent gave it a positive review, calling it a beautiful comeback. Spin writer Andrew Uttenberger gave it an 8 out of 10, saying Magic Whip is a fun album, as nearly as good as Godzilla's LP. That's the band I was thinking of. Magic Whip finds enough majesty and intrigue the band's meditative days to remain worthy company of any of the band's classics. What a nice thing to be. Okay, Rolling Stone, we know what they write, but they gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And Dave Fickle called the album a dark, seductive set of cements a legacy, stating that Blur have returned with inspiration to spare. There you go. How did the fans take it? Well, it got a #1 in the UK and got to number 24 on the Billboard in America. All Music gave it 4 stars. The AV Club give it B-. Chicago Tribune give it 4 and a bit, nearly 4 stars. Telegraph gave it 5. Guardian 4, NME 8 out of 10, Pitchfork 7, Q4, Rolling Stone 4, and Spin 8 out of 10. Everyone liked it. Song quality. Yeah, brilliant. It's fantastic. Great writing. They know how to write a good pop tune. So 4 out of 5. Production. As ever, the production is spot on, crisp, clear. So a 4 out of 5 again. And reception. Again, comeback album. Everybody loved it. So again, 4 out of 5. So it's all 4s round, giving us a total of 12 for Magic Whip. So it just beat the debut. Still strong, both strong albums for all different reasons. Okay, but they had stuff in the middle, of course. So after Leisure in 1993, we got Modern Life is Rubbish. Love the cover. One of my favourite steam engines, the A4 Pacific. This one's Mallard. Okay, that's enough of the train spotting for today. Good album. Got For Tomorrow on it. Advert. Colin Zeal. Love the bass line in Colin Zeal. Awesome stuff. Pressure on Julian's on here. Star Shaped. Pretty cool. Blue Jeans. Awesome. Chemical World. Psychedelic track. Awesome. Sunday's good. Oily Water, Miss America, Villa Rose, Rosie, I would say that's Blur, do the Who. Coping sounds like an Papa song to me, but you know, German Papa sort of thing, but pretty good. Turn It Up, really good. Resigned, awesome. 1994. Now we're getting into some classic Blur. Blur starting to really hit the mark. Parklife was 1994. We've got Girls and Boys again. Classic track. Love the quirkiness in this. Still a great track. Then we get Tracy Jacks, End of the Century. Very Beatles, that is. Then Parklife, featuring the actor Mr. Phil Daniels. EastEnders he's been in, Quadrophenia of course, New Tricks, right voice for this, brilliant track, Parklife. Bank Holiday, Punk, unbelievable, very good punk song actually. Bad Heads called The Debt Collector, interesting arrangement. Far Out to the End, good track. London Loves, Trouble in the Message Centre, Clover, Over Dover, Magic and Jubilee. Sounds very quirky and love the guitar work in that one. This Is the Law and the instrumental Lot 105. Then in 1995, Busy Band, pumping out album every year. We have the Great Escape, Stereotypes, the Country House, great track. Best Days. Then we get the brilliant Charmless Man on here. Fade Away, Top Man, another great tune, very catchy. The Universe, Mrs. Robinson's Quango, He Thought of Cars, It Could Be Used, cracking track. Then we get An Old Same featuring Mr. Ken Livingstone, Global Alone, Dan Abnormal, another fine track. Riffs on that are fantastic. Entertain Me, pretty cool, and Yuko and Hero, very good as well. We had to wait a couple of years for the next album, the self-titled Blur. Starts off with Beetlebum, very psychedelic. And then we got probably my favourite Blur song ever, Song 2. Brilliant. I do love that. I just love the energy in that track. Country Sad Ballad Man, pretty cool. MOR, On Your Own. Theme from Retro, this is cool. Reminds me of some of the early Muse stuff actually. Pretty good. You're So Great. Good track. Death at a Party. Chinese Bombs. I've Just a Killer for Your Love. Look Inside America. Strange News from Another Star. Like the mellow, it's so mellow, and the guitar work is brilliant. Moving On's good. Essex Dog has got an interesting bass line, very catchy. Then we move to 1999 and the album 13. Tenders opens up it. Bugman, another of them fine Blur tracks with some awesome riffs. Coffee and TV's good. Swamp Song, good. 1992. Blur, EMI. Battle, we're going back to that more psychedelic pop track, very good. Mellow Song, it is mellow, does what it says on the tin. Trailer Park's pretty good. Caramel, good. Trim Trap, very good. No Distance Left to Run, the guitar work on this is amazing. And then Opticum 1. And then 2003 we get Think Tank. This is the album that Graham Coxon is not on it. All he does play guitars on battery in your leg. Phil Daniels is back to do some backing vocals. We've got, now the only thing with this album, there's not many good tracks on it. I think this is the weakest album out of the lot. But if you want me to do a full ranking, just put it in the comments below and we'll do a full ranking. So it's got Ambulance on here, and Out of Time, Crazy Beat, Good Song, On the Way to the Club. It's alright. Brothers and Sisters, Caravan. We've got A File on You. Then we get Moroccan People's Revolutionary Bowls Club. This is proper Blur again. It's the only really song that's got them roots of Blur. Sweet Song, Jets, Gene by Gene, and Battery in Your Leg, pretty good track. I think that's a lot to do that Graham Coxon plays guitars on it. So that's a short look at Blur. As I said, if any Blur fans out there want me to do a full ranking, you know the drill by now. Mention it in the comments and we'll do a full ranking show on the Blur. Okay, that's show 1 of 3 today. Thursday's always busy day. We got album artwork later. Kiss studio albums, cool band, some cool covers as well. And then we've got a weekly update, which I'm doing live around about 8 o'clock tonight. All depends on when something gets delivered. Is when I will come on. So I'm going to do a live one today. So it'll be about 8 o'clock tonight. So until then, I will see you all later. Take care for now. Bye.